Man, that got quiet. That got really quiet. Let me see. Where's the button? It's one of these over here. Let's do this one. Right? That one? No. Maybe it's this one? Wait. I think it's that one. Let's do this one. Yeah, I think it's that one. That one works. Right? Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
It's so good to see you. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is July 16th, 2024, and we're going to write a little bit of code today. How you doing there, chat room? We're broadcasting live on Twitch and YouTube. Check out the chat room. They're right over there. Hello, hello. C Sharp Titan is here. Good morning. How are you? Napalm Codes with a big good morning there. Hello. Kieran is on YouTube saying you like the intro. The intro is epic. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Gosh, it was 2-3 years ago, I commissioned that music to be written, and yeah, we've been using it on the stream a bit since then. You're looking forward to this. You've been meaning to look into OpenTelemetry for your app. So we have a sample that we've been building. I linked it on Twitch. The link came through there on the Restream bot. We've been building a sample that shows off how to add antivirus to a .NET Aspire application. So we're using the Aspire dashboard to capture and present our telemetry, our logs. All the things, though, that we are showing will work regardless of where you export your telemetry to. We've just got a nice isolated sample here that we can go after and we can tinker with a little bit. We did already start, and we'll absolutely talk through what is in there and get everybody up to speed. All the source code is shared at the GitHub repository that I posted there in chat, so you can download, take a look, tinker with, and learn a little bit more along the way. Codebase Alpha, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. How you doing there? Space Cadet Commander with the big hi guys there. Hello, hello. Welcome, Manoj. Good morning. How are you? So I spent a bunch of time over the weekend. I didn't read. I wasn't reading into and working on the antivirus sample or tags app or anything. I have this idea, and hopefully we'll get into this later today. I have this idea of, instead of carrying business cards when I go to a conference, and I'm going to be out Thursday, I'm going to be at DevRelCon in New York City. That's an event where folks who work in developer influencing, marketing, speaking, teaching developers get together to help each other out here. I'm there as an attendee. I've never been invited as a speaker. Quite frankly, these folks don't see me as developer relations. And then I'm going to show up in my purple blazer. So I want to see what they have to say about the kind of work that we do and how they organize and prepare content, plan for events, and see what I can learn from some of those folks. But I will be in New York City Thursday and Friday this week, so there will be no stream on Thursday. We should be able to have a stream on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. That'll be coming up. That'll be something that we can absolutely do with some of our time here together this week. Hey, Thindall, good to see you. Yes, the bestest blazer. Kieran on YouTube says, have to look into Aspire as well at some point. I got you covered. If there's anybody to ask about Aspire, chat. Can you help Kieran out here? Can you help Kieran out here? Am I okay at teaching Aspire? Do I know a thing or two? Can I help out there? Let me know. Hey Darcy, you're just now exploring the .NET environment and you're lost in how to find documentation for a certain library for xlib. I'm not sure you're saying xlib for a certain library. To help, sure. Give me a little bit more information there, Darcy. The AMA tag is turned on here on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, of course, I'm answering all questions as we go along here. I press pause on things and help out with a little bit here. Codebase Alpha says, am I recommending my streams on the .NET channel or YouTube? Yes, I am. I'm still not sure if I'm going to run a stream on the .NET channel tomorrow, because the pieces that I want to teach how to build a component. They're not coming together quite right for me in how I want to teach, and they feel sure when to choose different parts here. So I'm not 100% confident on giving that content, because there's one path that I've seen everybody teach and explore and go after, and I'm not confident on why to recommend that path versus some of the other interfaces and APIs that are available, and how to talk about those. And without that little bit of extra knowledge and documentation to support, I'm not sure that the content is ready to be presented yet. Major Blazor development coming up over here. Cool. Thank you, Surly. Yes, of course, Damien is a great presenter about it, because he's one of the program managers on the team. Hey, Lou the Crow, good to see you. Yeah, I'm pretty good with Aspire also. Thindall says, did a quick overview of the current project code. Just a few more things to do before putting it all on app service. Nice. That's great to hear, Thindall. Good luck on your project. So, Darcy, continuing with the question, I'm using NPG SQL, that's the .NET Postgres library, okay, and .NET sockets. Okay. You're trying to learn from GPT, but I want to learn from the documentation. Okay. So here's what I would say to you. You're working with NPG SQL, and which .NET sockets library are you using? If you're using the official ones, there should be documentation on learn.microsoft.com. NPG SQL has a pretty good website. In fact, the leader of that project is actually on the .NET team, is actually a Microsoft employee. But there is a pretty good documentation site. Yeah, let me head over to the code and the browser here so you can see. Codebase Alpha, thank you. Appreciate the compliment. You're being laid off, Lou the Crow. Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that. How much time do you have until that goes into effect, or was it immediate? Weirdbeard Dev, happy Tuesday to you. This is the website for NPG SQL. I just did a quick Bing search with this. Right, we search with the Bing. If you search with the Bing, you get points. You turn in points after a couple weeks of searching, and you get free stuff. Free coffee, free Amazon gift cards. I turned it in and get free coins in Overwatch, so that I can buy more cosmetics for in the game, different appearance stuff. So this is the website for NPG SQL, and there's actually some pretty good documentation in here on how to use this. I'll share that link in chat. You hear to chew gum and code stuff, and I'm all out of gum. Love it, Weirdbeard Dev. Thank you for the throwback to Duke Nukem. Let's see here. Friday's your last day. Okay, so you got a little bit of time there, but man, that stinks. Ugh. So, there's documentation for that, and you should be able to find, right, for sockets, for .NET on Learn Micro. Really? Yeah, Microsoft.com. There we go. Socket class, sockets in .NET on Microsoft Learn. So, and this is the general top level document, and then there's information about TCP client and how to interact with that. I'll share that link in chat as well. Okay. Continuing here. Yes, Microsoft is hiring. In July is when you'll see a lot of job postings go up for Microsoft folks. So there's just a quick search. LearnMicrosoft.com is a great place to look for all the official documentation on things. Okay, definitely recommend checking that out and going after some of that content. Let me go back over to the chat so we can talk a little bit. So Lou's reminding me there was a post on Twitter. Who was it? I forget who. I think it was .NET Dave. He does a podcast on an interview show on the weekends. I've been on his stream once or twice. Hey, LeBlanc, good to see you. And he was asking about, hey, has anybody else been laid off? What's your story? And I wrote back with a quick one or two liner and commented about how I had been laid off, and it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. So I want to Napalm, remind me of that question when I get done this. I wanted to answer that question here in a way that I can record and clip this out as a short YouTube video. So I wanted to take just a few minutes and talk about my corporate layoff experience. So where is it? I want to drop a marker here. I thought I had a button for a marker, but I don't see it. There we go. So the question was, have you ever been laid off? And I've been around this industry for a long time. It's 2024. I got my first job as a software developer back in 1999. Ugh. So 25 years I've been working in this industry. I was a consultant for a couple years. Went to work for a .com company. Remember when startups were called .coms? And worked there for a little bit. Bounced between a couple of enterprises, and then went to work at another web startup for a few years. And that last startup that I worked at was called Frontline. They're now called Frontline Education. They're a company here in Southeast Pennsylvania. They've acquired other companies, and they've got offices all over North America at this point. But at the time that I joined them, I was employee number 25. And we were building an application that was for automated substitute teacher placement. So think about it. Teacher's going to is sick in the morning, can't make it into school. They've got to call somebody at the school and say, hey, I can't make it. You're going to need to call in a substitute teacher, right? And as kids, gosh, you either dreaded or you loved when the substitute teacher came in, because the substitute either didn't get a lesson plan, and that meant we were going to watch a movie all through class, or the substitute did get the lesson plans and were going to go easy on us, and because they didn't know what they were teaching, so you could kind of goof off and have fun through the class. So what this application did was, instead of having to call somebody at the school and tell them that they're going to be out sick, the teacher could go online or call into a phone system and log in with their credentials and mark themselves as absent. And that absence would first be made available to substitute teachers to go search for, like a job board, and submit and say, hey, I can fill that job and come in and work. The other side of that was, if the substitutes didn't fill the position within a certain time by going out and shopping and trying to find a position for the day, he would start making outbound phone calls and automatically offering, with an interactive voice response system, an IVR system, automatically offering that position for folks to be able to say, yes, I'll come in and work. And it had a pecking order that would go through to find folks that were most reliable, most trusted, and other credentials that were specified by the school. Really cool, simple idea for a system, but there was a lot of business logic in there that was fun to build and write. And my responsibility when I joined the company was, we started building the system that wasn't made for education, but it was made for hospitals, for nurses, and for other venues. So we took out the concept of education and allowed other skills and configuration to be inserted instead. And we worked on that for a few years, up until 2009, 2010. And they had an idea. They wanted to go and go after more of the education space. So they brought me over to lead a team. I was the lead engineer working on a team that built an application that would do teacher performance reviews. And it would work really nicely with the other applications. So you had a suite of applications for the school to use. Well, that performance application, we're building, and we're going out, we're getting all the fact finding and the credentials and information we need from the various states so that we can get accredited and make sure that it fits in with the various review standards that the governments have for public education. And we found out the hard way that there were several systems that were accredited and partnered and effectively blocked our application from being able to enter the market because we didn't have the partnerships. We didn't have the business relationship to create and market that product to the public school systems. In 24 of the 50 states, we weren't going to be able to sell our product. That's a big chunk of business that they were going to lose. At this time, I wasn't too thrilled with the application that we were building. And quite frankly, I was seeing and hearing folks that were doing a little bit of the influencer business, talking to other developers, and it was intriguing me. I got to speak at my local user group. I got to travel and speak at a couple other places that were interesting to me, that were local on the East Coast of the United States. And it was getting more and more intriguing to me. And the folks at Telerik Software reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in interviewing for a position as a developer advocate? So I was already talking to them when the news came down that the application wasn't going to be able to be sold. It was a Monday morning after a weekend where, quite frankly, I was invited to the Telerik office in Boston to interview. And I went up there and interviewed, came back to the frontline office the next day. Before I even got in the building, my boss is waiting outside. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Good to see you. And I'm thinking, hey, it's my buddy Ralph. We're going to have a cup of coffee, sit down morning in the kitchen, have a conversation, talk like friends do at work. He says, let's come over here and chat for a little bit in the front conference room. I'm like, uh-oh. I worked on the second floor of the building. He wasn't letting me past the front door. Uh-oh. Walked in and there's the HR manager sitting there, and they tell me they're laying me off. It's a punch to the gut when you're told you're going to be laid off after you've worked any amount of time for a company. And this was, I'd been working for the company about 4 or 5 years at this point, I think. And it was a company, a product, a series of products that I really enjoyed working with. And the business logic and the tools and what we had built, because at this point, I was hired as employee number 25. At this point, there's about 250, 300 people working for the company. So it's grown and business is going great. And they decided to lay me off on a product that somebody didn't do all their research before deciding and assigning and hiring more folks to go work on and build. And as the lead engineer guy on the product, I was one of the more expensive salaries working on it. So they sat me down and they said, yeah, we're going to have to let you go. The product isn't going to be able to sell. We need to refocus our efforts on XYZ. And I was hearing that, and I was, for some reason, desperate. Like, well, wait a sec. Why can't I just go work on the other product again? What about that? No, we're refocusing our efforts. We're changing our business strategy. Okay. Well, I packed up. I said, can I at least go back to my desk and pack up my personal things? Or I've got some photos of my family and whatever at the desk. Sure. Walked up, took a box, packed up my stuff. Nobody was really at the office at that point. And walked out, and that was the last time I was in the building. And it's a awful feeling driving away from the office knowing that you're never going to work there again, and it wasn't your decision. It's awful. But companies change strategy. Companies that you work for, as much as they say they believe in family and that the folks that work with us, they're our friends, they're our family, we want to protect them, we want to engage them. At some point, they do. However, at another point, they're also a business. privately held businesses, more so than publicly held businesses, have to be a little bit more aggressive. They have less regulation on them, and they need to protect their profits, their margins. Because at the end of the day, there's someone who's an owner out there who has to pay for all this. And if a business plan is not succeeding, is not going in the direction that they need to support the business, they've got to make hard decisions. And it's awful when those decisions are made. But sometimes one door closes and another one opens. In my case, I was driving home in tears in the car, calling my wife and telling her, you know what? I just got laid off. We've got 2 kids that are under the age of 5 years old. We just bought a new house. We're going to figure this out. And I got a call from Telerik later that day, and they offered me the position. I wasn't out of work for a week, and I was offered a position as a developer advocate at Telerik, and I went and I joined up, and I was happily employed teaching folks about ASP.NET, the framework, the library that I was using to build those websites at Frontline Education, and had a great time pushing the web widget, web component market forward. This was at a time where Node didn't really hit yet, right? This was 2010, 2011. And being able to deliver components, pretty cool stuff. A lot of fun, had a great time speaking, working with the community in there. And I like to think I was doing it so well that I got noticed by Microsoft, and they offered me a chance to come in and interview for similar job working there, and the rest is history. So that was 2012 that I joined. 2012? No, it was 2014 that I joined Microsoft, and it's been a fantastic ride. I'm going to be celebrating 10 years at Microsoft in November. So what I would suggest to you is when it happens to all of us, you're going to be dismissed from a company for one reason or another. We like to have the choice ourselves when it happens, but it's not always the case. When it does, yeah, it's a punch to the gut. But you know what? You're really good at what you do. You can find that next job. You can find that next opportunity, that next idea, that next project that is going to drive you and make you happy for however long it might be. Don't worry about it. What's done is done. Those folks made their decision, and you can move forward and you can do great things with your next business, with the next company you work for. Everything will be okay. All right? Nothing is permanent. Move forward, be positive, and you can be successful. So that's my story. That's what happened with me getting laid off from a tech job, and it opened the door for me to start doing all this stuff. So yeah. So let me catch up here on chat. I'll cut that down into a YouTube video and throw it out there a little bit later today or tomorrow. Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to get some music playing. I forgot about music. And it's okay, there's no music in the background of that. Here we go. Synthwave playlist from Stream Beats. No, don't start in the middle of a song. There we go. This is music that's DMCA free, royalty free. Listen to it wherever you'd like. Check it out at streambeats.com. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team of creators for this music we're listening to today. Hey there, Steve A. Hello, Billy Cool. Chris Jones, welcome in. Codebase Alpha says, great story. I really lucked out. Yeah, getting a new position pretty much immediately. I did. You're not wrong. And I look at that as a bit of a blessing, that I lucked out like that. Not everybody has that good fortune. It's it's something that, fortunately, I've had a good sense about me of when it's time to jump. At this point in my Microsoft career, because I've been with the company for 10 years, several things have happened that I don't need to think about that as much anymore. I've got savings. I've got the capability to point back and say, hey, I'm this guy over here on Twitch. If you want him helping out your organization, I'm available if and when I depart Microsoft. And because I've got so much tenure at Microsoft, if I was dismissed, I'd have a good-sized severance package that would carry me over to the next position. So, it's not bad. It's a good position to be in at this point. So, hey, Dr. Padawan, hello. Thank you for the kind words there, chat. Appreciate it. C# Titan, Codebase Alpha. You need to stay employed till you get retired in a few years. I feel that, Codebase Alpha, right? I'm in my late 40s, so I've got about 15 years to go. Like, I don't think I really want to change positions. Maybe there's an opportunity with a startup position that would really light up. Why are you doing this over here? I wasn't talking to you. You, go away. Thank you. If there was a position that really interested me, that was doing something that I was passionate about, might talk about it. But for the most part, I really enjoy talking to you out there, building and organizing the events that I have coming up, the virtual events online, talking to other developers, helping folks get successful. It's something I really enjoy doing. So I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. So we'll dive in. We'll talk more about Aspire. We'll do the nickel tour of .NET Aspire here in just a second. Let me catch up on some of the other questions here. Napalm asking if I've tried out Orleans. No, I haven't. However, I've definitely seen the benefits of it. Is it well supported, adopted? It is well supported. It is fully supported by Microsoft. It shipped as a part of the framework in .NET 8, so you're going to get full support. They've been advancing and providing updates to it over the last 6 months or so, and they're continuing to invest. So, absolutely, you can trust in Orleans being around for a while. Hey, DeBaby, hello. What advice should you focus on as a student in comp science? It's an open-ended question, and we get this question a lot. If you're a student in computer science and you are looking at what do I do next? What should I focus on? The question about what you should focus on turns into a little bit of reflection. And I would say this to folks who are looking at a degree in accounting or finance or engineering. What do you want to do with your degree? In computer science, there's a handful of places that you could go. You could go into hardware engineering. You could go into software. You could go into developer security. You can go into when you talk about software, do you build websites? Do you build cloud services? Do you build IoT devices and tools? What makes you excited? What are you interested in that you really enjoy about your computer science degree? Do you want to build games? Do you have the math to be able to work with some of the physics and stuff that might be cool to do inside of a game? Think about it. Do that little bit of reflection to figure out where you want to take that and what interests you, and that'll help steer you in the direction that you want to go with that degree. You've had recruiters in the past tell you that if you stay in a company for more than 3 years, it's not good and shows badly to employers. I would say that to somebody who's early in your career. If you're early in your career, there's two ways to go. If you're early in your career and you're working at an organization that's local to you, that's that's got a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, 2,000 employees, I would say, sure, bounce around a little bit. Get your feet wet. See what you like, see what you don't like. If you come out of school and you get hired by one of the FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, if you get hired at one of those, ride it. Ride it as long as you can, because they're going to throw money at you. And when you're young and you're getting that much money thrown at you, put it away. Put it in savings. Put that stock away. And then you can tinker and play after you get tired of whatever it is they're working on at the FANG company that you're employed at. But more than 3 years, no. There's a time and a place in managing your career that you want to bounce around and that you don't want to bounce around. There's concerns when you have a family that you need to consider. Gosh, do I want to bounce around to different companies? Do I want to change jobs? Is it going to advance how much I'm going to get paid? Am I going to have a stable income so that I can afford to pay for and save for my kids' college? Things like that are a concern. There's times to be aggressive with pursuing your career, and there's times to sit on it and try and grow at the same organization. I'm at a point in my career where I'm comfortable. I don't need to change jobs, and quite frankly, the only folks that would hire me to do this at the scale that I'm capable of doing this are the other FANG companies, and I don't think Netflix wants a developer advocate. So, you want to be a good software engineer. What does that mean to baby? What does that mean to you? Hey, DGen1 over there on YouTube. Have I considered going full-time content creation as a job? That's a great question, DGen1. I have. And the problem, the challenge with that is... Why am I not getting the YouTube indicators over there? The problem, the challenge with going full-time content creation is you need to have enough audience to carry you through. I don't yet. Oh, shoot. My daughter's car is being repaired and the dealership is calling me right now. Pardon me while I take this. Oh boy, here we go. All right. So, one second, while I need to let the family know about this. All right. So for me to go full-time content creation, I need to have a big enough audience. I need to have ad revenue. I need to have income coming in that's going to cover my costs. And quite frankly, we're not there yet. We're nowhere near there. For me to do that, I would almost pivot to do mostly recorded YouTube. Um, so anyways, hang on. All right, here we go. So those are absolutely options that are available, but for me to go full-time YouTube, I need to get much better with editing. I need to get content out there that folks would watch, and it's something that having a family means that I have a higher requirement to meet that exit velocity to get into full-time content creation. And it would take a lot more for me to get there. So it wouldn't happen anytime at least in the next year or two. I would need to build up to it. But I think there's other interesting things to work on and produce and do here on live streams and recorded videos to talk about, build, and work on. So let me see here. DeBaby says your dream is to work in big tech, interested in mobile dev. Okay, so that's great to hear. So to further explore this, and we just hit an ad, and I'll wait because I see that DeBaby doesn't have the subscription. It'll be about another minute here. Building content full-time is not something easy to do. And when you look at some of the other full-time content creators in this space, you look at Primogen, you look at Pirate Software, you look at folks like Nick Chapsis and Tim Corey. They're not just broadcasting. They're doing other things. Right, Nick does... he produces and publishes videos, 15, 20-minute video 3 times a week. He's building a complete course library that he's selling, and each one of those courses is $50 to $100 American, so that he can build a consistent revenue stream. Tim Corey publishes videos, but he also sells videos $50 to $100 a piece, and it's just Tim on his system, but it's publishing and selling training is what they're doing. Primogen and Pirate Software are very unique in what they do because they've hit thousands of viewers. And the thousands of viewers they have means that the advertising revenue is very, very high. I have no idea. I have no idea how you manage tens of thousands of viewers in a stream. It is really, really hard to do as a solo here. Pirate Software has moderators that help out with that, but that is a lot to manage and grow. But he got to that by producing and delivering a bunch of YouTube shorts and other YouTube videos and having editors help out delivering that stuff. It takes time to get there. So, do I have an audience that could benefit and grow from that? Sure. Do I have the content for that kind of thing where that's building, teaching, and showing some of the things we've been doing with open source projects that you can download and work at? Yeah, I think that's something that's very unique to my stream, my content, that nobody else has. Nobody else has the types of content that you can download, work with, and learn from. So, oh, they're calling back. 1 minute here, I'm sorry. Oh man, I love getting good news. Love getting good news. Minor repair that was needed is covered by the warranty on my daughter's car. Woohoo! All right. So, so content creation is to finish the thought on that, really cool to do. I really enjoy it, and I think there's an opportunity to do more. And it's interesting to me that watching the Primeagen as he started going full time, he's actually started doing a little bit of the live coding and sharing and building resources that folks can connect into and use. That type of approach on his stream. Good for him. Happy to see that. I think it's a lot more engaging. So, let me see here. So I'll go back to DeBaby here saying interested in mobile dev. Terrific. So focus. You're gonna want to start pivoting your degree in computer science so that you're learning more about software. You're going to want to learn a bit about smaller hardware, portable hardware. I don't think there's a lot to learn there, but start studying the programming languages that are going to help you be successful in mobile dev. Is it going to be Java? Is it going to be Swift? Those are the primary languages that are going to get you in mobile development on Android and iOS. Do you want to go and use some sort of a flexible framework that'll allow you to build for both, but with that abstraction and allow you to target multiple ecosystems? You can do that. Tools like Project Uno, .NET MAUI, Avalonia, they will help you with that programming with .NET. There's other tools out there, React Native, that'll help you with that you can explore and check out and learn more about. The key thing that I would stress to you, DeBaby, is getting into software, particularly mobile development. There is always change. You're always going to be learning. And with mobile development, once a year, Google and Apple host their big software development shows, and they announce, here's the new updates in the operating system, here's what new features are going into the applications that you need to know that you're going to build with and they're going to expect in order for applications to be approved to run on the new devices. That's important. Mobile development has very little grace, very little acceptance for backwards compatibility. You're either compatible with the current version or maybe version -1, -2. That's about it. So be ready for it. You're always going to be learning in that space. So, sock all the cash away. You don't have a pension, so 401k, IRA savings. There you go. Codebase Alpha says YouTube is more and more favoring very short throwaway content. I agree, Codebase Alpha, and I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan at all, because, quite frankly, I invest time to build and tell a story. And folks that don't want to stick around and hear the content that I've designed for you, it's frustrating. And quite frankly, I can't teach you all about .NET Aspire in 45 seconds. I can't. So then what? Do I create 5 one-minute videos to teach? That's frustrating. And the fact is, if you get into video 4 and you haven't seen video 1, 2, and 3, are you really going to watch video 4? Ugh. Orleans with Aspire is very cool. Our friend Brady Gaster is doing a bunch with that. On YouTube, Kieran says, just got a notification that I've made a vertical slice architecture course, that they've made a vertical slice architecture course on Dome Train. Okay. It's not a subscription service. You need to buy each course. And quite frankly, Dome Train is where Pluralsight was 15 years ago. And Pluralsight just got sold off. So Pluralsight was managed by a bunch of private investors. It grew and grew and grew, went public, was acquired by a private equity firm, and it sounds like they're selling it off at this point. It's a shame, but the amazing content library over there. I have a couple courses in their library as well. You finish C++ until object-oriented programming, but the thing is, I like C# a lot. Cool. You will learn it more in practice with it. Okay. That's great. Is it bad to switch? Never bad to switch programming languages. It's never bad to switch programming languages. Don't so much say that you've walked away from C++. The things that you've learned will continue to be valuable to you as you go forward. So you're going to be just fine there. And yeah. The fundamentals that you learn in one programming language, you're going to find very similar in other programming languages. And they do stream for 15 hours. So they're full-time content creators. The fact that Pirate Software is live streaming for 8 to 12 hours a day, every day, in my mind, is a pace that I cannot even consider. Because I've got other responsibilities in my life. And quite frankly, I don't want to be sitting behind this desk for 15 hours. I don't. There's other things in my life to do. So, what software is used to sync YouTube and Twitch? Can you broadcast and manage chat on both? Yes. Kieran, it says it right there. I use a service called Restream. Restream.io will allow you to broadcast to many, many services at the same time. I've seen some folks broadcast also to Twitter, to X. I don't know. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Hello. Book recommendations for programming. How you doing there, Kaito Chess? I recommend. And thank you for the follow. For folks learning C#, I recommend Phil Japixie's book on C#. That'll get you up through, I think the last version, it gets you through C# in 2023, I think. So, Junie!
Junie_von_s just resubscribed for 41 months. How much could a tank if a tank could tank while writing code?
That's a good question. Yeah, thank you so much, Junie. We play Overwatch together and have a fantastic time. I'm usually playing a tank. If you've watched when I've done the Overwatch streams here, I love playing as the character Diva. Love playing as it. And had a great time with that. Kaito Chess, I would also recommend checking out JavaScript, the good parts. I think in a world where everybody has to, at some point, interact with the browser, you're going to need to know JavaScript to run in the browser. I would check out JavaScript, the good parts by Douglas Crockford. So, hey, DJ Deepex, hello. How about 45 days? What about 45 days? Give me some context there, Bullseye. They were acquiring content, yes. You're welcome to baby. Happy to share those, and I'm going to clip a little bit of this and republish on YouTube later. Yeah, I need to sleep for at least 8 hours, but the amount of content that Thor generates is ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't drop any frames at all there. So, and I hope everybody's safe and sound there, Junie, in Chicago. Chicago had a tornado last night. So our friends in the Chicago area had some really bad weather.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, it did. There you go. It's a Philadelphia 76ers basketball hat. There you go. You just tried to write some JavaScript in your C# class and was getting frustrated. See, that's the funny thing. High Tech Redneck is running into When you're building web applications with C#, you end up writing C#, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and HTML all in the same file, and it can get really confusing. You like the follow notification? Thank you. Japan's sending PSN. Appreciate it. The tall pants. Not to be confused with the short pants. Are those capris or clam diggers? What are they called? Look at how I'm showing how old I am. Clam diggers. The iOS app for Twitch. Yeah. Thor is highly motivated and focused. Yes. He's done a fantastic job. I definitely appreciate the amount of work that he's put into that. The fact that he's got a team of folks that help him out, and finding that team to help out is hard to do. So he's definitely built something there. Code isolation. Oh yeah, code isolation is very cool. For not just Blazor, but for the other web frameworks. There's also isolation you can do in the other products. Did not know about Pluralsight. Wonder what that means for the website. Don't know. Haven't heard, but there's articles out there in business news about the equity firm that bought Pluralsight bought it on credit, expecting the revenue stream to go up. But here's the thing. When Pluralsight went public, they more or less told all of their famous authors, we're not paying you the same rates that you were getting. We're cutting your rates significantly. I know this because I was on a lot of the author discussion meetings. They said, hey, we're cutting your rates. Well, at that point, the author said, you know what? I can get paid really good publishing to YouTube. I can get paid really good publishing content to other places and creating my own library that folks are paying me directly for, and I'm not getting a percentage from you. So the high-quality, famous authors all left. And the folks that are there create good content. The famous authors left. And without that pull, that nexus, where you could get these really famous folks teaching you, their revenue started going down because they weren't selling to the average person, because the average person could get content on YouTube and Twitch and whatnot. So since they weren't increasing their revenue, they couldn't pay their creditors, and now credits come due and they can't pay. So they're selling it off. So, hey Mom, look at that. Mom's here. Hello, good to see you. Juan Van, good morning to you as well. How's it going, Mom? Great to see you. Look at that Mom with the dancing emotes there. I love seeing it. I think we need some more animated emotes. I want to get some ideas for animated emotes and things that we can, some more emotes here. I've got like 20 slots for emotes here. I need to get some more ideas to put in there and have some fun with. And I also need to extend and get more of the hat indicator subscriber badges. Get those set up. Great to see you, Mom. Alu the Crow says bicep files are still pretty awesome to work with. Finally figured out how to use AZD infra. Oh. Bicep is a domain-specific language that you can use to build and specify cloud service resources. Particularly for Azure. The folks on Azure developed and built the language, but the language is portable and could be bound to other hosting environments, other cloud services. But Bicep is really, really compelling to use to build and describe your configuration out there. And I love seeing how nice the chatters are when Mom stops in. My goodness, my mom's turning into Donna Kelsey here. Look at this. Look at this. She's like Tony the Tiger. She's great. I love seeing that. That is the core of their product. Yes, indeed. Your manager tried to get a team license. It was very difficult and tedious. Exactly. Now you're seeing the problem, Robert. Self-service training is a little bit easier for folks to get into. When a foundation store at a shopping mall departs, it'll usually struggle for a few years, but ultimately everybody else leaves as well. Yes. Unfortunately. Philadelphia is a German cheese brand. Tell me more. CLL
_L just resubscribed for 6 months.
6 months.
And they are the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll drop back into some more Q&A after we get into a little bit of code writing here. Thank you so much. Let me see here. Love seeing everybody saying hey to Jeff's mom. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea. Chat, can I tell you something for a second here? Mom's flattered when you talk to her. I'll talk to her later today, maybe later this week, and you could hear how happy she is. Oh, it's great to tune in and watch a little bit. It's fun talking to Surly and some of the other folks there. But she remembers your screen names and talks to me about it later. It's really great. She really appreciates you saying hello and spending some time here. Darcy says, what's the safe number of side hustles for about $10,000 a month? That's a pretty good number. Not gonna lie, $10,000 a month. You're talking about $120,000 a year. That's a pretty good number. However, don't forget, you got to pay tax out of that. You got to pay health insurance out of that. So that $10,000 quickly turns into about $6,000, especially when you've got a family and whatnot you've got to protect and save for. So $10,000 is a pretty good start. It's a pretty good start. Not going to lie. We're at an ad break there. See that? Look at that. There was Mom laughing. Look at that. Philadelphia.de product. Really? Look at that. It's a German cheese. Du meine Güte. No, wait. No, stop. Stop. That's Philadelphia cream cheese. You're looking at Philadelphia cream cheese there. Why did it... No, I didn't want Swedish. I wanted the English one. Yeah. That's Philadelphia cream cheese. That's not a German cheese brand. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Cox, good to see you. Yep. It's actually made in New York, which is weird. Have your spouse get the health care? Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to offset a little bit there. Absolutely. Now Junie wants breakfast. So, let me see. What else do I need to cover here before we get into this? We want to talk a little bit about Aspire for our friends that were... Who was asking about that? Kieran was asking a little bit about Aspire and a little bit about some of the telemetry we're going to write today, so we'll absolutely talk about that. Yeah, let's dive in here a little bit and talk about... I'll start with the antivirus sample, and then we'll dive in and talk a little bit about OpenTelemetry, and we'll do the quick tour around Aspire and show some of the telemetry about this as well. So, you know what? This is the sample that we're going to build on. It was a proof of concept that I wrote last week while I was building a feature for Aspirify.net so that you could upload profile pictures. More on that soon. Soon. That's not ready yet. Go ahead, take a look at that. Go ahead. Take a look at that.
And knowing is half the battle.
There you go. That's the right one. Look at the AI working well there. Even though it's 46% certainty. Are you kidding me? DJ Deepak says, I love the Aspire easy deployment to Azure, but where they'll be maybe billing information so roundabout. What are costs for Aspirify.net? The cost for Aspirify, let me pin that question and come back to that in a second, okay? Let me show the weather sample that, hey, I wrote too. So this sample you can get to. It is available in the official .NET presentations repository, and it's called Let's Learn Aspire. Let's Learn.NET Aspire. There you go. And holy crow, who's this person? Oh, Victor. Okay, that's fine. I wrote the original code for this. Some folks have tuned and tweaked the content a little bit, but the demos that are in here started with yours truly. So I have this already cloned and sitting here locally. So I'm going to jump right to the complete version of this, and we'll talk about what .NET Aspire gives you, and then we'll build and get into the antivirus example and go from there. Come on, load up. Here we go. There we go. All right. Look, code. So here's the deal. You might be building a website, something that's going to run on the cloud, something that's going to work with multiple cloud services, not even multiple cloud services, but you want 4 things out of your application. You want reliability. You're going to be able to connect to it and things are going to retry and work a lot. You want service discovery. You don't want to be tightly coupled to where your database and other resources are. You want to be able to discover and find that stuff when it gets deployed easily. You want that to be configured and just run for you nicely. You want great observability. You want to be able to get logs and tracing and information about how your application is running so that you can get that information, take a look at it, and start working on it easily. And you want composability. You want a well-worn path that's recommended to you about how these pieces fit together nicely so that you can get those various components, whether it's a database and a website, database and an API and a website, a service bus, all these things to work together in concert and then have the observability over those, the reliability and durability across those, and the ability to service discover and have those pieces fit together and discover each other nicely and easily. So I have a little website here called My Weather Hub that I wrote that gets data from the National Weather Service, the American National Weather Service, and presents, here's a list of weather forecast stations and gives you the weather forecast when you choose one of them. Really cool, easy to do, and I've got a little grid here and some information to sort and present that grid, and I have a client here that knows how to go get weather forecasts. Well, I want to hook that up to an API so that API can have hidden behind it, so I've got the abstraction there, so that my API, where is it? Right there. This can have all the logic of how to connect to and read and interact with the National Weather Service here in the States. So I've got all that logic. This isn't Aspire, it's just sitting over here doing its thing. Okay, but then how do I stitch those two things together and get the reliability and get the durability? And that's where Aspire helps out. So here's the deal. Aspire gives you a cool developer dashboard so that you can orchestrate and look at how these pieces fit together. So you can take a look at those logs so that you can immediately get in and see exactly how everything is running, because it's got health checks built into the technology stack that you can work with. So here, there's my website, my Weather Hub. There's the API that knows how to go out and connect to it. And I've even got a Swagger endpoint on that API that I can click into, and I can see here. And it gives me information about the various components that are part of that API. Okay. I've got a Redis cache out here because here's the thing. The weather forecast doesn't change but once every 15 minutes. So when I request the weather from that API, throw it in a cache for 15 minutes and don't go bug the National Weather Service for the same weather forecast again and again and again. Just pull it out of the cache. But how do I stitch those pieces together? And that's what Aspire does for us. So when I go to the website here, this has already made an initial request to that API. And I can see that trace directly right here. So there's that request right down there on the bottom. I can click in and view the details of that request. And Aspire gives me that traceability to see exactly what happened. I made a request to get information from the website. It went and loaded information about the zones, right? The zones are what they call the weather forecast stations in the National Weather Service. It took 23.8 milliseconds to go get that data. And it checked in my Redis cache, hey, do we have this data in the cache? It took 9 seconds for that, and it just returned the data quickly. So if I back out of this trace and I refresh this, you'll see there's another request. This time, it only took 15 milliseconds. It's behind me. And it got it from the Redis cache. Okay? So, that's nice. I can see how that's working and interact with that. But if I go back here, and let's go look up the weather for... let's go look up the weather. We were talking about Chicago here. I'm going to go look for Chicago. No. Give me Aurora? No. Someplace else that's in Illinois. Now let's go find Illinois. I can just filter for Illinois here. Lake Illinois. There you go. That's pretty close to Chicago. And I get my results there. So, looking over here, now I've got... And I'll move this over so you can see the full... Now you can see it took 1.63 seconds for me to get the weather forecast there. And it tried to get it out of Redis cache. Didn't find it in there. So it decided to go out to the National Weather Service. It took 1.1 seconds. And then you can see here, it put that data, it set that data in the Redis cache. So if I go back over here, right, this was Lake Illinois. If I refresh, let's look that back up again. So we'll look for Lake Illinois. There it is. And I click into it. If I look at my trace again over here, it took 5 milliseconds. And I can click in and see it found it in the Redis cache. Didn't even consider going to the National Weather Service and brings it back. This information you see here, this is OpenTelemetry. The logging that is behind this, that is OpenTelemetry. And it's being published and presented for you as a developer on this dashboard. And I can jump into structured logs for these. There aren't any because it all ran properly. So they're not at a level that they're visible here. So I've got observability so I can reach into there. If I want to look at the console for those, I can certainly see all the requests that would have appeared at the console. And I can filter and search through those records here. So this gives me the opportunity, right? We've seen a handful of those things, right? We've seen the discoverability. It's able to find and connect to these other services. Okay. There we go. We've seen the observability. We can look through the traces in these things. And this dashboard is just the simple, easy way for you as a developer to see this content. There's also exports available so that you can publish to Azure Monitor. You can publish to a Prometheus database and present it with Grafana. So this that you're looking at here brings all those things together. And when folks talk about Aspire, they typically think of just this dashboard. But there's so much more that is going on under the scenes. The orchestration that describes how these things fit together, you're not writing YAML. You're not writing JSON. You're writing C# code. And you're writing it in a way that the compiler and tools like GitHub Copilot can help you. So I have here, this is the orchestrator for that system that has a Redis cache, that has an API service, and has a web front end. So those three things together are defined in these 14 lines of code. It's not even 14 lines of code. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code with a little bit of wrapping built in there. I'm building a distributed application. I'm adding Redis capabilities to it. And you know what? I'm going to call that Redis service that I'm creating, I'm going to call it cache for the rest of the application system defined. And I'm also going to give it the variable name cache here. I'm going to reference my API project that's sitting over here in the Solution Explorer. There it is right there. I'm going to call that API and make that available. And I'm going to tell that project, I'm going to give it a reference to that Redis cache. So check this out. Inside my API is going to say, I want to add output caching with Redis, and the service that you're going to find that on is called cache. So it gets resolved and finds that Redis service. So if I go back over here and we look at that API, there it is, and we look at the details of how that's running, check this out. Down here, connection strings cache, and there's the address for it, localhost 61434. 61434, that's the cache. It passed and connected those pieces together. So my client inside of my API knows how to find that, resolve it, and turn it into a real connection string to work with. Okay. Finishing up here looking at app host. So now my website needs to know, how do you connect to the API? So we give it a reference to that API. Here's where you go and connect to it. And you know all that ingress configuration stuff you have to do in Kubernetes, so you can specify, here's the services that have external endpoints that folks can connect to? That's what this is doing. Here's the external endpoints that you can connect into the web. We're going to expose it, and there's configuration you can set up there to specify how that gets exposed and worked with. I see a handful of questions in chat. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. So inside my Weather Hub, when I configure the client, my HTTP client, to connect to the API, I can say, give me an HTTP client. Here's a strongly typed class to bind to. And that client, the base address I want you to go to is API. It's not. I didn't have to pass in localhost 7032. No. It knows that it's API, and it's going to find and stitch that together. Furthermore, when we publish this to the production space, I'm never going to reference this. It might be some other name that's generated by Azure or AWS or Kubernetes. I don't know where it is. The deployment will take care of stitching up that reference to wherever that service lands. That's exciting. All the metrics and logging are added by just dropping one line, one command, and you get rich logging with some great defaults in your applications. So builder add service defaults there in my website, and I do the same thing here in my API. And this doesn't work for just .NET. It also works for Node and soon Python. We saw a issue ticket closed on that gets supported as well. Really great stuff that's coming along that's going to advance this. And this is version 1, okay? we're right at the beginning of this. There's lots more coming. Lots more coming. Now let me catch up with chat and answer some more of the questions that you have over there. I'm going to snooze. There's an ad about to start in about 5 minutes. Catching up here. Kieran says, I thought this would be the stuff that OpenTelemetry would do, though. OpenTelemetry is one of those pillars. So when we do add service defaults here, this is a project that gets added into your solution called service defaults. You see it down there in the bottom corner, and you can configure and extend this. So there's the OpenTelemetry, and I can see exactly how it's configured to add these capabilities for ASP.NET Core and for the HTTP client, as well as the runtime. The cache and other services have their own metrics and features that add into this collection, so that when you do have a listener out there, like the Aspire dashboard, it'll publish and read and present those. And there's the instructions if you want to use Azure Monitor. So if you're on Azure, you want to use Azure Monitor, there's tools to automatically set that up. There's a library available and instructions on Microsoft Learn if you want to set this up to export to Prometheus. Folks at some of the other data monitoring applications, SolarWinds, Datadog, they have instructions for how to wire up to their services as well. So, hey, Darcy. Yep, I think I just covered that a little bit. So, no. Aspire includes OpenTelemetry as one of the features. You don't need to use the OpenTelemetry. It comes in the box. It's a recommended, automatically enabled feature that's available for you to use. It's completely free. All of this is completely free. It's open source. If I go back here to the dashboard, check out that GitHub icon up there. That'll jump you right into the .NET Aspire repository, where you can see everything that goes into making .NET Aspire. So it's all open source that you can work with. Aspire versus OpenTelemetry. Okay, so OpenTelemetry is the logging that you see here in these traces. Okay, so I can click in and see some of that logging and some of these details that are in here. That's OpenTelemetry. There's also metrics over here that come out of OpenTelemetry meters, they call them. So I can click in here and I can see, give me something more interesting. And I'll refresh this, click into a couple of these. And these metrics that are being collected and presented that show, in this case, the duration of runs, that's OpenTelemetry as well. Aspire stitches that together and makes it easier to use that by default. Aspire gives you this dashboard so you can visualize it by default. Nothing installed, nothing running here. This is in a Docker container that's being presented here. And this will connect and work with any OpenTelemetry endpoint. You can publish to it and get this data and interact with it. So, all built for you by the folks at Microsoft. C# Titan says, sorry for the silly question. How does Aspire compare to benchmark.net for optimizing performance? Two different things. Benchmark.net reports on performance of, and will run multiple times various components, various blocks of code, and give you a report on how long things, the duration that processes took, and you can measure and get in there and tune and tweak things and get that out. Aspire orchestrates and reports on how things work as you interact with them. Benchmark does something different. Gamma asks, what happens when you have multiple APIs? Then you name them different things, right? Let's do that. Let's add another API to the mix here. That's a fine question. Let's add another API. So I will add new project. And give me an API here. Sure, give me an ASP.NET Core API. Let's call this API part 2. And let's see, enable open API. Sure, and minimal API is fine for this. That's fine. Go ahead, create that. I'm not even going to customize this. I'm just going to let it create and go out there. So here's API part 2, and because the checkbox was checked that said enlist in Aspire orchestration, they automatically added the add service defaults call into this. Additionally, down here in app host, if we look, it added a project reference to the app host. Finally, you can see over here they added a line for that API in here. So let's move this up here, and I'll call this API 2 equals that. And I can pass that in here as well with reference API 2. Okay. So now I've got 2 APIs out there. 2 different microservices, API endpoints that I can work with. It will run and orchestrate both of them. I've passed both references in. I don't have a client inside my web application doing anything with it yet. But what you're going to see here is hopefully going to make that a little bit clearer for you. Good question, SciGamma. Thank you so much. So there's API. There's API part 2. The names that I assigned them right here, API. And API part 2, those text names that I assigned, they're right there. So there's API CS Proj, it's right there. API part 2 is right here, and I can click into that and see here's the random weather forecast demo that we've had for such a long time. It's available here. And there's the random weather forecast. And I can also go into my other API. There, that one is running. It's on a different port, 7032 versus 7238. And I can click into these and get that data presented. It's a really big data set. It's going to take a little bit to return. Not going to lie. Anyways, so they're all out there. And when I look at the details of my web project, I can see down here, there's 2 services. There's the API service. There's the API part 2 service with connection strings appropriate to go find and connect to those services. So I can write my code so that it finds and connects to the microservice appropriately. Yep, different name for each. You got it, code. Condor, that's right. SciGamma says this is Kubernetes essentially without the YAML file. This is Kubernetes and so much more. In order to get the service discovery in Kubernetes inside your applications, you need to configure the domain name resolution inside of there. In order to get the logging and reporting in the dashboard, you need to add Prometheus and Grafana and Loki and a handful of other Docker containers. It's all in one container, built, developed, and made available to you. It's not YAML. It's to configure all of that, it's a C# file here. So I get a compiler that's checking and making sure that these things work. I get a rich programming language so that I can do other things in here, like right, maybe this weather service is who we should rely on in the summer months, in June, July, and August. So I can do things like greater than 6 and date time now month less than 9. Then add that. Right? Then start up that API, and I could add a similar check down there. Like, it's a full programming language that I'm working with, and not YAML, where I'd have to do some sort of weird scripting thing here, because I've got the ability to write my own classes and if statements and for and whiles. I can go and have it conditionally do things using natural programming language structures that we as programmers are used to using. So it takes some of the concepts in Kubernetes and puts these opinionated, strongly typed capabilities on top of it and extends it and makes it easier for you to be successful right out of the get-go without having to know any of the networking things that are going on and container configuration things that happen in Kubernetes. I want this resource, add it. Give me a reference to that resource right there. Done. I don't need to think anymore. So Aspire gives you the dashboard and other things like service discovery. You got it. And OpenTelemetry is part of the Aspire .NET Aspire collection of tools, and it gives you the logging and the metrics. Yeah, there you go. Right now, I'm seeing Kieran's getting the light come on there. Yes. So, all right. Hey, Frank, good to see you. So, I taught the English version of Let's Learn Aspire. Frank taught the French native version of it. Thank you so much. Merci, Frank. See, that's about all I know, French. So thank you so much. I'm always blown away by folks who can speak more than one language. Condor says, I'm a .NET dev with 6 to 7 years experience using Blazor, WinForms. Oh, okay, you do have Prime. Yeah, I'll wait here. I'm going to finish reading this before, and I'll wait till the ads come back. 6 to 7 years experience using Blazor, WinForms, and WPF commercially with a strong SQL background. Nice. Looking to progress my career, but unsure which path I should take tech-wise. Is there anything up and coming that I should take interest in and learn? So, Condor, you're looking at what are the next steps? What are the next tech that I should learn? Aspire and some of the cloud-native capabilities is certainly one thing. AI is red hot. Generative AI using large language models to build and deliver and make your users more productive. Absolutely a space that you're going to hear us talking more about over the next year. But Aspire is going to help you orchestrate and set up for your interactions with those language models, databases, and whatnot. So those would be the two things that I would encourage you to look at. Get some of the architecture concepts going so that you can proceed out of a senior developer role into a systems architect role. I would go after that as well. So good luck to you, Condor. Aspire will be a big player in cloud development in the future because they're making Aspire language agnostic. It's great that it works with .NET here, but you can add in and you can run Node applications inside of an Aspire system. You can run Python applications inside of an Aspire system. It's growing. It's happening. Okay. Where in Azure would you deploy an Aspire app? Asks Gamma. So a .NET Aspire application is this collection of services that you've defined. If you use the Azure developer tools, it will deploy and put you into Azure Container Apps. That's the first place that they completed the entire tool chain for to get you deployed to. However, because for the most part, Aspire is just generating, as a developer, to stitch things together, because it's for the most part generating these connection strings and settings in here, you can copy these settings, put them into App Service or some other hosting provider, put them on your VM to configure your application, and you can host it really anywhere. Your deployment scripts will continue to work. You just need to use the convention for these variables, these configuration options, so that they discover and find each other. You can absolutely do that. The easy way to do this, though, is with the Azure Developer Command Line, AZD. with the AWS CDK, the cloud development kit that will help you publish out to AWS. And Aspirate are yes, thank you. Aspirate is a third tool that's available out there. We've been working with the folks that build that to make it easy to take this, generate your kubectl files, your Kubernetes configuration files, Docker Compose files, deploy and run and get the same experience on Kubernetes, running wherever you might want to run Kubernetes. Azure, AWS, Google, locally. You can do all of that. So thank you so much. McNets, 1 year with us. Hello. Charles with the resub. 47 months. Thank you so much for the resub. And a follow here for Lillian. Hello. Welcome. Appreciate you joining us. Via Sanctus asks, Blazor is older than 2019? So, yes and no. The first released version of Blazor that was supported came with .NET Core 3.1. That was 4 or 5 years ago, so 2019. It was in an experimental mode for about 2 years before that. Going back to, I think it was 2017, Steve Sanderson did his famous keynote at NDC London, where he showed off the concepts that became Blazor. So, yes. What's a bubble that will pop, Spartan? Help me out here. Just, quick tip: if you when you write chat messages, if you avoid pronouns a little bit, it helps me get the context and I catch up and know what's going on here. Let's see. Yeah, good luck, Condor. Yeah. Dr. Cox is on the way, software architect. Nice. Nice. So there was McNets. Thank you so much. Aspire Prime Days. Oh, yeah. Can Aspire settings be used for feature toggling? Sure. Absolutely. So let's go to, if folks were asking about Aspirify.net. I happen to have the source code for that right here. Aspirify.net is a website that we built here on stream that has a bunch of services that light up and present a news hub for all things .NET Aspire. So here's my app post for it, and when you take a look, .NET Aspirify blah 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 has a handful of things that are configured, including Microsoft account authentication, output caching, Azure storage, a security database migration capability. I know. There's a counter service up here so we can collect some of our own metrics of how much folks are viewing different articles, the website itself, and then there's a thumbnail service out here that generates the thumbnails for the various articles that you read on Aspirify. So if we start this up, you'll see how this runs locally, has all those things configured, and I publish this out whenever there's a significant update, and it updates the website automatically. So by using an output cache with my Azure storage, and the Azure storage I set up to have a queue in there to manage the work that needs to be done to resize thumbnails. Why are you saying failed to restore? Why are you saying failed to restore? What? Are you kidding me? What the heck is that? That restored. Huh? Excuse me. That's weird. Not gonna lie. That's weird. stand by. Stand by. I know what's going on here. Package sources. Turn that one off. One last time. No, it's still hanging. Really? Like, what? I saw it in there and I just missed it. NuGet Package Manager. Settings. It's like Visual Studio doesn't like me all of a sudden. You, go away. Let's restart this. Just to make sure everything's cleared out. Here we go. Hey, Noah. 1 second, I'll get to your question. There it goes. What? Unable to load NuGet. I took that out. I took that out. It's not there. That's really annoying. But it ran. Yeah. I know. There it goes. Anyways. Is Fluent UI for Blazor the same component library as Fluent UI to React? I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Fluent UI though should be very similar. Very much a little glitch in the matrix. There you go. So this is everything that runs Aspirify. Now these are broken out services for the storage service down here. There's Storage Explorer that lets me browse into that. That doesn't actually get deployed. And looks like everything's running. And I can click in and I should be able to see my local instance. No. Oh, this thing. I'm not going to go through and fight with this right now because this isn't what I want to be working on. But there's a version upgrade that happened there with Azure Write that I have to deal with. The point being, there's a cache service here that I pay $15 a month and share it with 3 other websites. So I'm going to say that that's $3 a month. The Azure storage, I've got 100 records sitting out there, and I drop a queue message in a couple times a week. It's not even a nickel to run Azure storage. The security database is not getting hit that frequently. It's only used for me to log in. So I'm not hitting and running that hard. So that's not even $5. Database migration service doesn't run when things are deployed, so that's nothing. Counter service is out there, and it's sleeping most of the time. It wakes up like once every 10 minutes to aggregate the number of view counts that are out there from a queue. So that's not doing that much work. The website is where the work is, and it does a lot of output caching over to the output cache. Honestly, all of Aspirify is maybe $20 a month for me to run across all of these services that are using not a lot of resources at this point. So, Can you still access the Aspire dashboard once the website has been deployed to Azure? The dashboard is available on the Azure Container Apps portal. The dashboard is not an enterprise-grade presentation of this data. It was never intended to persist data beyond your current development run. So if you start loading gigabytes of data in it, it's not going to work. You're going to want to shift to a more enterprise-grade service that's dealing with more than just a couple 100K, a couple megabytes of data that you've loaded in during a development run. That's where Azure Monitor, Prometheus, and some of these other services come into play, and we recommend you use at that point. So it's available. You can look at it. We don't recommend it at that scale. Yeah, the dashboard is available as a Docker container. Yeah, somewhere I've got a configuration file that's actually pointing to a invalid NuGet server. It's got the wrong address embedded in there. Yep, the Aspire workload is old is what's going on there, and I don't want to deal with it's not just the workload is old, it's some of the references are old, and I don't want to go chase that down right now. I'd rather talk to you folks in chat. Believe the Blazor thing is just a wrapper on the web components version. I think you're right, Johan, yes. Yeah, you need lots and lots of RAM, but even then they put a hard limit on the amount of data you can send there. Like, somebody tried to load a terabyte of data into the dashboard, and the dashboard fell over, and they complained. Like, you don't have enough memory. Like, yeah, that's not what it does. And then folks complained, well, it doesn't save data between runs. Yeah, that's not what it's supposed to do. So, well, this is the difference between developer tooling and production tooling, operations tooling. When you operationalize something, you need high-grade stuff that's going to persist between runs, that's going to be durable between failures. That's not what the Aspire tools are. The Aspire tools are developer tools. There is interest from folks to make the dashboard production grade, and there are folks exploring that. Right now, it's not. It's designed to be a developer tool. So, but those other tools that folks use and enjoy in production are very much available. Yeah, the Azure Monitor service is where you want to be. Let's see here. C# Titan asks me, am I getting one of the new Surface Copilot PCs? Oh, hell no. No. Several things. I bought my daughter she wanted a Surface Pro. I got her last year's Surface Pro because it's a little bit cheaper and that's all she needs for college. She loves it. Loves last year's Surface Pro. What, Surface Pro 9? Absolutely loves it. It really enjoys it. The Surface Copilot, quite frankly, wasn't available at the time that I was searching to buy, and I wasn't going to wait for it. Am I going to buy one for myself? No, because I have hardware that does what I need at this point, so I don't have a need for it. That being said, my machine, my go-to machine on the road is my Kubuntu Focus, my K-Focus machine. It is phenomenal. Has more RAM, more drive space, has a better display than those machines. And that machine is almost 4 years old. and I have a new one coming. It runs Kubuntu Linux, runs really, really fast. Amazing capacity on it. Thank you, Unesco, for the K-Focus there. If you connect to the folks at K-Focus, you let them know that you're interested in getting a machine, and you saw it from me, they'll give you a little bit of a discount there. So, oh yeah, I'm very excited for the new laptop. So, they've got a couple things coming on it that are going to be very interesting. So, there's AI chips in the AI kit for Raspberry Pi. I need to get the Raspberry Pis running again, because there's a handful of things that I'd like to run on there. But, it's coming. But I think the things that are in those Surface Copilot PCs, that looks great. The new Snapdragon PCs, great. Is that Hemanth? Hello, welcome. I'm not sold on ARM yet. I've had enough problems on ARM. I'm not sold on it. Hey, Virox, hello. That's me. I'm not. The tools, the features that I need to use don't work on ARM. The games that I want to play, not great on ARM. Like, has anybody tried playing Overwatch on an ARM device yet? OBS on ARM, not happening. Not happening. Because OBS is built with C++ and coded directly against the Intel instruction set. So, can't use that over there either. So, I'm not sold on ARM yet. So, the next K-Focus laptop, I'll share more details as we get closer to it arriving. They're excited to work with us and get a new one sent over here. And more power to those folks and the work they're doing. It's a boutique a boutique manufacturer that makes phenomenal devices that run Linux first. So as a developer, it's got all the tools I need. It can run VMs amazingly on there. So check it out. Do I miss full Visual Studio on Ubuntu? Yes. Yes, I do. So that's where it's kind of nice to want to be able to install a virtual machine so you can do some of those things. OBS has a native Apple Silicon version. OBS on Apple has never been good. I know they're working on ARM support. But it hasn't been good on Apple devices. It just hasn't. So, you're having issues running Docker with Windows ARM on your M1 Mac Mini. I really don't enjoy my M1 Mac. I don't. It is so difficult to. If I'm not using the apps that came installed with the Mac, it's hard. Hey there, Max. Welcome. So what I want to get into and talk about today is going back over to our Aspire antivirus example. We'll come back to you in a minute. The idea here was I needed to build a file upload for profile pictures for Aspirify. Well, anytime you upload, you allow folks to upload content. You don't know what you're going to get. So we need to scan for malware. Fortunately, Clam Antivirus, that's an open source antivirus tool that runs on Linux machines. They have a Docker container available. It's managed by the folks at Cisco. Well, a Docker container, I can run a Docker container as part of my Aspire orchestration. So to some of the questions that were there earlier, I can also drop in a container here. So I've got a command here that says add Clam Antivirus. I wrote that. as part of this demo, and if you look at the top of at the top of the Twitch chat, you can see it there. If somebody wants a project command, the link will be sent over to the folks at YouTube. But you can see it's adding a container resource right there. And it's running the ClamAV container from Docker, bringing in the latest version, setting up the endpoints so that they all map through, and now I have an antivirus container running out here. And I can take a look at the logs. Right? This is Aspire stuff that we were talking about. Cool. Right? But I can also now create a client when I try to upload a file and let the antivirus scan it and report back what it finds. There it is. So we started working on previously the ability to take a look here. There it is, right there. And see that it ran the antivirus scan. Fantastic. Not only that, but I've now got a metric over here from the scanner that shows that it ran. Now, here's the first question that I have and the first problem that I have that I can't figure out, and this is what causes me hesitation about wanting to produce and share some of this information. We saw over on the traces that antivirus scan, come here, right? This part right here took 3 seconds, right? Really? You're not going to let me, whatever. Right? 3.01 seconds. But when we look at the metric over here, it says it took 5 seconds. Why? I logged 3 seconds, but it says 5. Why? And it's not like 5.03, no. 5. And if we look at the table, 5. Like, what? I don't get it. Coming up on an ad break here in about 5 minutes, there's an ad that's gonna be played. DJ Deepak's got a mail from a prince in Africa. Oh, you only have to pay $30,000 to get 5 million. That sounds like a good investment. That's a good return. Wow. But I understand that the only catch is you have to pay $30,000 in Apple iTunes store gift cards. I think that's how that works, right, DJ Deepax? That's how you have to pay it, is in iTunes gift cards. It's either that or Starbucks gift cards, right? So I don't get this. I want to figure that out. Where's that coming from? The logs for this, we added log information here so that you can see the information that it was executing in it, right? That should say, it says web front end is the resource. Maybe I need to put antivirus at the front of this so that it shows it. But no virus detected. So, like, that's good. We like that. But I feel like we can make this more descriptive, and we can centralize and make these resources here a lot more usable and localizable at some point in the future as well. So this is all part of building this proof of concept and building a little bit of a client around this, because I'm going to want to use this feature in Aspirify and even in another website that I'm working on called MyTag. So, oh, it's in a crypto coin. Oh yeah, you can send those too. Yeah. Does it work with multiple uploads? It does, but my demo here isn't configured for that. It does. I just don't have the demo configured to do that right now. So, right, this is how we structure. Stop it! This is how we structure defining a resource. You could put all of this directly into your app host here, but by wrapping it up inside of a class over here, it gives us that abstraction, gives us that isolation, so it makes it real easy for us to just say, I want to claim an antivirus resource. Give me one of those and put it into my application system here to work. UUID with a question: do I perform the processing task as they arrive, or do I have a queue with an execution pool? I did not build a queue. I'm just forking it in this sample, and that's a great point there. When the upload comes in, so this isn't a queue so much as, right, it just forks off another thread to handle the upload. And it starts the antivirus client, go scan the file asynchronous over on the antivirus service, and awaits its return. So I could certainly put this into some sort of a thread pool, a queue with an execution pool. I could absolutely do that. For the purposes of this proof of concept, it's a little bit further advanced. Definitely, as I want to look at something that might have a little bit more, a lot more throughput, definitely something to consider. A very good point there. You had a similar project with Python because your system got overwhelmed really fast. Yeah, see, and a queue would mitigate a DDoS attack, right? Yeah, putting these values into Azure storage, right, where it can't be executed. Put it into a quarantine location. Put a notification on the queue. Hey, this needs to be scanned. Let the scanner run as a separate service, as a separate API that picks up messages from the queue and reads through them. Absolutely. And also with spammed file uploads. Well, so the queue on the spammed file uploads, several things there. We can set the maximum file size that you're allowed to upload and that this can handle. Right, we have that configuration option available to us. And we can also check the queue and see if there's other messages from the same person. Set a maximum size to the queue, these types of things, and start rejecting uploads. All things that you would want to do to harden a service. Absolutely. Because people on the internet are not nice. And they want to take credit for knocking over your service. Yeah. I get it. So, absolutely, putting this on a queue is a direction to get to, right? Wouldn't you still run into an issue with if you just read the form and pitched the data over? I don't even do it here. Pitched the data onto blob service, you'd still run into some sort of an issue there. You'd still run into an issue at some point. And so to help with that, there are ASP.NET rate limiting APIs that you can put around things like this to mitigate those types of interactions. So Kieran says, they're a person on the internet and they're nice. Feel free to share your API keys with me. Oh no. You don't know how many times I've doxed myself on this channel. DJ Deepak's asking, is the Aspirify robots text in sitemap generated? Let's open a new tab. Aspirify net. Robots text. I don't generate that. That's hard-coded. Because why generate it? Right? I mean, it's a text file with 5 lines. So, absolutely, that's hard-coded. However, that's generated. That's generated and output cached for like 6 hours. So, yeah. Absolutely, it's all there. And every time there's an update, it flushes the cache and re-updates that entry. Oh my gosh. No, it's not a new hat. No. 24 months. Thank you so much. 2 years with us. How you doing there? Thank you so much for the resub. So it flushes the cache. Otherwise, it sits in output cache for 6 hours, I think. Because and unless I need to regenerate this, the only way it gets regenerated is we publish a new article. So when a new article is published, it forces this to be regenerated. It flushes that cache. A new version is out there, and then it takes, single-digit milliseconds to retrieve and paint for you. So, and I wrote my own method to generate it. I found that most of the sitemap generator APIs didn't quite work for what I needed. Looks like a lot like the Expos hat. It does. And oh man, as a kid I had an old Expos hat. I don't know where that got to. But when my Philadelphia Phillies traded Pete Rose to the Montreal Expos, I got an Expos hat because I was sad that he was no longer on the team. That tells you how long ago I was a Expos fan. You assume .NET has some task queue executioner system? Yes, it does. Right? You can absolutely queue up tasks with a thread pool there to go and execute and interact with that. I would caution against wanting to jump that far when you can add the rate limiting capabilities up front to minimize it. And additionally, the heavy lifting here behind that await is doing the execution queuing on that asynchronous process. So, yes, it did, UNESCO. And the security staff, the Conme Ball organizers were not prepared for that level of crowd at the venue. Make sure you can rerun a task when they fail. So right, I can say I could say that and say this is scan task, and then I can investigate that task. And take whatever action I need at that point. However, this is within the scope of somebody posted to the website. I probably don't want to do that. That's a 3-second process. I probably don't want to do that directly here. I probably want to just real quick dump the content into a staging folder. Azure Blob Storage is a great place for that because it won't get executed. You can isolate it in a specific location, and I can fetch those bytes, do that scan somewhere else, and send a message back, hey, this was accepted successfully, so on and so forth. And then I can set up the number of virus scanner services. I can scale that up and down based on the workload. my website here, I can scale that up and down based on the workload as well. But you can, I can investigate and take appropriate steps here. But doing messaging with another service that's watching the queue and interacting with it, that's a whole nother level of discussion. DJ Deepak says Aspire can launch replicas of a service. Great option to use, but is it possible to launch some more instances on runtime? You're outside of Aspire at that point. Let me explain. Aspire builds and helps you as a developer, and it stops. The edge of the Aspire functionality is when you get ready to publish. When you get ready to publish, Aspire makes a manifest available. That manifest is what's used by other tools to decide how to configure your running application that you're publishing. At that point, Kubernetes or Azure Container App, so on and so forth, it's up to those configurations to decide how many instances of a website or a container to start and manage, how to scale it up, how to scale it down. It's up to those services. That's not an Aspire thing at that point. However, to your point, I can't do it. This is a container. It's not going to let me do this. With replica, yeah, it won't let me do this. However, I can do it over here, and I can specify a number of replicas to start, so that you can test that having multiple instances of your website does work. So when I restart that, you'll see it's going to start 10 of these, and it will load balance appropriately across them. So here's the thing, UNESCO. That stadium, that arena that the Copa America final was at, has hosted Super Bowls in the past, and they had a different security protocol for those events that was not observed for this event. Additionally, the folks that were attending the event were not listening to security there, and they were crawling into the stadium through the vents. That's completely unheard of in this country, that folks would try to get into a stadium by crawling in through vents. Like, what happened there? Folks, a combination of things. They didn't have strong enough security protocols. They didn't have enough security staff there. And you had some really bad behaving supporters for both sides in the match. Yeah, they got overwhelmed. We don't have that problem. We don't have that level of unruly behavior trying to get into an event. Once the event starts and stuff happens in there, Philadelphia is among the worst fans in behavior. So much so that we have a court. There is a judge and a court in the basement of the stadium. And if you misbehave, the security, the police will take you directly to the court. You don't even leave the building, and you will be sentenced and fined, maybe even sent to cool off in a holding cell right there while the game's going on. So in America, we know how to deal with this. We know how to deal with this. Going to my favorite school, Penn State, where I went to school, university, it's the second largest stadium in the country, fourth largest in the world, seats 110,000 supporters. Okay, I say supporters because I know that's more internationally accepted, but fans, supporters. Okay, 110,000 people. That's the stadium in Miami is nothing compared to Beaver Stadium. That stadium in Miami had seats for 65,000, 70 including some of the extra seats that they brought in for the Copa America final. Okay, it's literally nothing. It's puny compared to Beaver Stadium at Penn State. Okay, 110,000 people. Think about that for a minute, right? That's a small town, and they get everybody in their seats, rowdy, excited for the game, supporting, cheering on, and they do not have that kind of behavior. They do not need to have these significant levels of security getting in there. There is a culture and an acceptance and an interaction and a respect for authority that was not observed by those fans, by those supporters. Did they have enough security to handle them? No. But those were irresponsible, law-breaking folks who need to take responsibility for their actions as well. Let me get back into this here. So look at that. It started 10 copies. I told it, start 10 replicas. There they all are. And it's all answering on the same location, right? But it's different services. Let's take this one further and dig into this. So if I go back over, let's just to show you that, yeah, it's actually something different. Let me go over here to the home page. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to do some things that you shouldn't do. Web host environment. I'll just call that env. And let's just drop a thing in here. No, I said paragraph. Thank you. We're listening on address. And we'll put in the address right here. Ta-da. And we'll say env. Come on. No. No, not application name. Maybe I'll get the configuration. I think it's ASP.NET host URLs. I think that's it. Let's see. A little Judge Dredd, a little bit. Not gonna lie. Short-circuited the process there. Right, did I get the ASP.NET Core URLs? It should be, come here, you. Copy that. Paste that in there, save, it hot reloaded, fantastic. So if I click into that, I went to 7019. That's not right. I forgot the @ sign. That's why. Come on, you gonna hot reload that, John, for me? Please? It'd be really nice if you would. No. There is an update coming for hot reload that should help with some of these things. But I'm trying to show you that it's a different location each time you get into it. It load balances for you automatically. There they are. They're all starting. Jump into one of these. Oh no. Try that again. I wonder if I overwhelmed it. I did. And I think I've broken it pretty good. Restart. You see, it's still the tooling behind the scenes, the developer control plane, I have a feeling is struggling there with the volume that I had at startup. Alright, let's try this one more time. Oh yeah, I broke it good. I broke it good. It says it's there, and no. We're gonna have to restart Visual Studio. And we're gonna want to knock down... I have a copy of the dashboard still running? No. Look at that OBS stuff. Looks like we're clear. Trying one more time here. Where was I? This one. And started. Come on, get booted up here. There we go. Skipping the analyzers. Come on, get it running. No. Yeah. We're in. I broke it. I broke it. There you go. Index outside the bounds of the array. What? It's not that. It's not that. Try it again. Nope. Yeah. We broke a spire. What can I tell you? There's stuff that's running on, they call the developer control plane, that needs to be restarted, and I forget where it is because I don't see it here. And that feels bad. No. Why does it say AZD is running? It's not. Go away. Check over here on Docker. No. So it's not hanging out there still. Yeah, it's not there. Okay, I cleared that. Oh no! What are you doing here? Really? Oh, you're gonna take me over to this thing? Okay, it's not in there. DCP would have been in here. Ah, boy. So, they want me to log errors for things like this. So let's log an error. .NET, Aspire. Issues with replicas. See if See, the replicate information is not part of the deployment manifest right now. Is there anything closed about this? Let's see if closed last month, so that wouldn't be deployed yet. Nope, we're not going there. Not following that one. Looks like they got some failing tests here. No. Yeah. And I'm not going to be able to run any of my other... Yeah, I can't run and debug or do anything here at all. I'm dead in the water. And there's no logging to help me with it. Actually, I know what this is. I know what this is. Come with me, will you, friends? I know what this is. Stand by. So I've been working with the DCP team a little bit because I've run into this a couple times. You can tell it to write logs to disk, and it'll generate these logs. And it'll tell you that what it's starting, what it's working through. I don't see it in that one. There we go. Find me that error. There it is. Running Docker. Completed IDE. Run session. Run session cannot be started. Right, look at the web front ends. There's like a file that it's trying to access and write to, and it doesn't have access to it. Or it's a shared file that it's interacting with. That it's saying can't get into. It's locked by another process or something. Right, see, it's trying to save information about the run session. This is fun. This is fun. No. This index was outside the bounds of the array. That's annoying the heck out of me. What the heck is that? Let's go back to this with replicas and remove that for right now. I don't think it's going to start, but let's take a look. Yeah. No, it's not even getting there. It's not even getting to the website. Right, that's an I configuration. You wouldn't get an index outside. That's not an array. That's a configuration value, key value lookup in a collection. It's not hitting that. See? Let's do a clean and rebuild. Right. Yeah. Right, that code's not in there. There's something else that the configuration is just off on and it will not run. Well, that's great. Now what do we do? Because all my projects now are coupled to Aspire and I can't get into Aspire. Yeah. If we back up another one here. Process cannot access the file because it's in use by another process. There it is. Temp, Aspire, something, something, something. Local temp. And it's Aspire, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to delete those folders. Yep, there's cube config and all the information about the web front ends. Thank you for the follow. Complain on Twitter? No. No. This is the folder. Right. Yeah. Hello, Red Rabble. Thank you for joining us. And Julie Casablancasa. Hello, welcome. Let's take a look at the properties on this one. I thought there was a way to see who's got this locked. Oh, there it is. It's a power toy. No. There was an Aspire dashboard EXE out there? There we go, that deleted. try this again. There it loads. And the website failed. Why did the website fail to start? Put this back in. Hit it again. You had this a week or so back? No. That's index outside the bounds of the array. What index? Like, let's knock that down. Okay. Restart the whole shebang. This one. Okay. Looks good so far. There it goes. All right. So if I drop out of there, even with 30 instances of the server, cool. Put that back in, put this back over here. Back over to home. Right, there's the address that it's listening on. There we go. So I've got 10 instances of it running now, and if I click through to one of these, it should tell me the URL that it's listening on. There it is. 56.986. But if I refresh... Really? You're not going to give me a new one? Yeah. They're on other ports. You're not routing me to other ones? So if I click into, say, this one, it's keeping me on the same server. Give me a different one. Nope, put me on the same server. Interesting. I would have thought it would have bounced me around to different servers. Right? Even if I copy that link, we go over here to Firefox, try it in a completely different browser. Oh, now I am getting a different one. 986. 995. Okay. So they're doing some sort of cookie sticky bit to keep us on the same server. Okay. That's cool. But there's multiples out there and we're getting... Yeah. The reverse proxy that's sitting in front of these is keeping you on the same server. So... Okay. My lord, we went round and round on that for like an hour to get there. What I wanted to work on today, and we're not going to get there. Let's get rid of that. Hey there, Richie. Welcome. What I wanted to get into was down here. right? I added all these things to help with the antivirus and added all this extra logging information all around the actual execution. And it just made it ugly. Like, we should do something about this. Move the instrumentation of all of this out somewhere else. You know? So let's start something with that. Let's just call this log. Because this is the only thing that gets created in here. All these other things are objects that are referenced and built off of it, you know? I think we also want this as a partial class for the purposes of if we want to do the fast log generation. Additionally, right, we probably want to have a method out here that registers, does the registration of the activities and the meters for the OpenTelemetry to just launch and start using. We take a look at how they do it for some of the components that are out here. You can probably find a good pattern to follow. So if we go to right, there's Redis. But that's the host. No. Yeah, these are the... where's the library? Need to come back to that. Yeah, where's... No. What do we got here? What do we got? So this is for the Redis client. Okay. So there's the index key, the assembly reference. There's the activity source name as an internal static. That's referenced somewhere and added. Right? And you can see other provider builder extensions. Is that what I'm looking for? Add the client instrumentation. That's a tracer builder provider. Right, somewhere in here it automatically wires it up. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, DJ Deepex. I want to get it so that you don't have to think about it, and if it's there, attach. So there, if it didn't have options submitted, go create default options. Creates a thread to drain entries off. Right, that activity source name is used. Actually, the activity source name is used to register. Activity source, SQL activity source helper. No, it's defining its own there. But there it's creating its tags. Where's it registering it? Like somewhere it lights that up. Say starting activity, but somewhere else it actually adds it in to actually interact with. Yeah, I don't see it here. Huh. What do we got? Source events, okay. There's this interesting thing that they do where they where they add the name of the resource. And it just finds it and adds it. Add Redis instrumentation, add Redis instrumentation, add Redis instrumentation. Not interesting, they're using guard clauses there instead of the null exception. Add Redis instrumentation, right? These cascading... Add Redis instrumentation shared services. Where's that? Builder configure services. That builder is the tracer provider builder. Stack Exchange Redis instrumentation. And if there was an options defined, go get me one of those. And Yeah, see, this doesn't have an interface, but it adds a connection. That's for adding a connection to Redis. But I don't see it defining and adding the activity source. Yeah. Profiler command to activity. So they're starting they're reaching into the instrumentation activity source. They're saying start recording an activity that happened. Here's the information about it. Set end time. So it's taking that command. Okay, this is taking that command that has this information in it, and it's logging the information about it. Interesting. But where is it? So somewhere this add Redis instrumentation is called. Redis examples, add Redis instrumentation. So is this being called? Is that being called somewhere inside of Stack Exchange Aspire? Is that being called somewhere inside of the Aspire client? Ah. Show me where that client is. Right there. Put me on main, please. Okay. Extensions. Add Redis output cache. There we go. This is where we want to be. Add the Redis client. Add Redis output cache core. Okay, so what does add Redis client do? Configure settings, configure options, and this calls another add Redis client and delegates. Get the configuration settings, get the connection string, add keyed transient, configure, bind to configuration. If there's a service key, here's the tracing right there. Builder services, add OpenTelemetry. That's what we want right there. There it is. Right, and that builder is the iWeb application, is the web application, iHost application builder. There it is right there. Found that, John. Holy smokes. Is it me or is the market taking a tumble? Oh yeah, look at that. The Dow's up significantly. Big Tech is taking a hit. Hey, Final Stack. 37 months. Hello, hello. Welcome. Yeah, big tech's taking a hit. Amazon may not be getting the AI credit it deserves. Tell me more. What? Oh. Now Microsoft can't hire people because the UK is now saying Microsoft can't hire people because you've hired too many experts. What? No. Go pound it. It's slightly down. Microsoft is down. A lot of the big tech is down. So adding this type of ad is going to help here. There we go. Let's see here. One second. So I like this structure, right? And then when it came down here to do the telemetry, it added the activity source, configure Redis instrumentation, right? Is that what's doing the meter? Or is it this one? One of them is. And then there's the health checks. Okay. Yeah. I kind of agree with you. Getting an index stock that is always trending upward, yeah, you're going to do all right. You're going to do all right. So, as an employee, I have compensation through stock. So, seeing a big drop in the Microsoft stock, what's happening there? Yeah, 21% year to date on. Yeah, that's pretty darn good. So, yeah, always looks weird when you see the index that the index stock that's tracking, in that case NASDAQ, down like. What strikes me is the UK regulators are going after every move, every announcement, every move that, and now every hiring that Microsoft and OpenAI do. They're not just analyzing, but they're announcing and saying, we don't approve of. We think this is anti-competitive. Like, why don't you just come right out and say, your business isn't welcome in our country? Why don't you just come right out and say that? Like, every move, every announcement that is made by one of these companies, the UK says, oh, hang on. Where are you ordering coffee from? Whoa! You're ordering coffee from Starbucks? I don't know. We need to investigate. That's an illegal collaboration. Like, there are times where regulations and trying to make sure that things are fair makes sense. But if a company is the first mover and gets there and invests and grows their business, you're punishing success. So, it's difficult. And the company that you're trying to compete with is able to do whatever they want, unfettered. It doesn't look... While you're saying that's anti-competitive, in fact, the action that's being taken is in itself anti-competitive. Oh, you're not allowed to hire an expert in this. Wait a sec. The competition is. Like, you can't just enforce it on the one company and not on the other. Oh, you've hired too many people that are experts in this space. And they're allowed to? And by the way, those people don't live in your country. Those people aren't going to work in your country. So, who are you again? These are the challenges. These are the problems that I have and I see, and I really question. Exactly. This is an American company that does business in those countries and is hiring people not in those countries but in other places, and is also promised to invest how many billions of dollars in those countries to grow their business footprint. And you're telling them, you're not allowed to hire somebody in California to work for you. You're the UK. Shut up. Like, really? Really? Like, Mom and Dad are talking here. Go to your room. So, like, come on. Hey, Kush. Good to see you. Hello. Less government is better. Hey, Jerry Nixon, hello. Can move at a pace that governments cannot keep up with. Yeah. The question is, what is appropriate regulation? When a government steps in and says, we don't think you're hiring people fairly, and those people that are being hired don't reside in that country, and the business that they're being hired from wasn't in that country, comes around again to this is the discussion between mom and dad. Go to your room. Like, I live in Pennsylvania. If I were to be hired at Facebook, which does have a significant presence in California, does Facebook need to follow the California hiring rules for me? Does Facebook, because they have a presence in Europe, need to follow GDPR rules and European privacy regulations in hiring me when neither one of us, as part of that transaction, is dealing with the EU? It's a discussion between A and B. See your way out of it. Is it relevant to learn Ruby on Rails in 2024? It's not as popular. It's not as popular as other frameworks. So, depends. If the company that the organization you want to work with uses Ruby on Rails, it's sure as heck relevant. But I would say that its popularity is waning right now. John on YouTube says, no matter how bad the Tories are, at least they know what to leave alone. Yeah. Can we host an API in Docker for development and testing? Asks, is it Abishkar Kafel? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Why not? I'm building here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And I want to show you something, a trick that our friend Jerry is actually interested in a little bit that I want to get set up here. So I'm building and testing this API down here for ClamAV. I have another, there it is over there. The solution that the library came from is right over here, and it has a unit test capability over here. And inside these unit tests, one of the unit tests down here is an integration test that actually connects and works with the antivirus service. So to your question, Abish, I have that antivirus sitting here running in Docker right there. Right? 3310, there it is. And I can run this unit test against that and make sure that the API behaves the way my API client behaves the way it should, interacting with the API that's sitting there in the container. So we'll give this just a second here to build and start up. There it goes. Discovered all its tests, and one test failed. Oh, what did I break? No, more than one test. Really? Run that again. 2 tests failed. Yeah, that's... Nope. Alright. Maybe I broke my API, and I need to go back in there. Anyways. But, yeah, I've got it up and running and sitting over there. So... In case of government, we get to democratically vote on what kind of rules we want, but corporations can do whatever? No, corporations have to abide by the same laws. If a company without presence in my country were using slave labor, even without a presence in my country, I would impose regulations against that country. Against that country. Sure. It's a outside of your jurisdiction interaction. What's the most reliable way for a worker to determine a container is ready to interact with? I got you. I got you on this one. Let me go back over to my other... Let's go to Aspirify. Because I've got exactly what you're looking for over here. There's a bit of sample code that's in the aspirant repository on GitHub that does this wait for interaction. Here. So here's database migrations, right? I've got database migrations that are sitting in a project that it's going to apply. But you know what? We need to wait for the database to be running. This wait for feature is a block of code that you can find in Aspirant that will do health checks to make sure that it's running. Come on now. There it is. And once it's done running, hand off and continue processing. So this is a great extension method that our friend David Fowler wrote. And you can find this sample. Yeah. They didn't write it up here. But source down here, wait for dependencies. So it's these two files that you can copy into your project and use. And it will show you, and it will give you that ability to say, wait for that other process to be running. The other thing that I wanted to show you that we do inside of Aspirify that I think answers another question that you had is I take the names of these things that we're going to reuse in a couple places. So, oh no, I don't do it in here. Where do I do that? Is it in Tags app? Might be in Tags app. Ooh, there's my tag. Don't show my tag. Don't show that. Don't show that. Tags app, I think, does this. Source, what do we got? Holy smokes. What did I do? I thought I put it in this one. I guess I didn't. No. I didn't put it in that one. I have a demo that does this. This sample that I'm about to tell you about, and I don't see it here. Darn it. It's in my tag. I have it all over my tag, but I'm not showing you the source code to that one. All right, let's put this in the AV sample then. So the question is, when you have an app host sitting up here and you've got these service names that you're creating and passing around, you need to know what those are so that you can reference them appropriately. But that's a magic string. That's frustrating. I don't want that. So what you can do is you can add another class library in here and provide a little bit of redirection. I'm just going to call this common. Yeah, that's fine. So down in here, right, I'm going to call this services. Public const string, I'm going to call this antivirus. Thank you. And let's rename that John. So now I can add that common reference to my app host. I'm also going to add it into my website. But in here, I need to tell it to exclude that name. 1 second. So that it doesn't think that it's an Aspire thing. I forget where else I put this. But it's not in Aspirify. I thought I had it in there and I don't. App host, CS proj, notepad. And it is Aspire project resource right there. So this little annotation that you can put in your project with that tells it this isn't a project to generate and include in the project's reference, right? Otherwise, see where I have projects? It would appear as another entry in there. So, so what I can do now, though, is I can say services.antivirus, and I've got that hard-coded name, right, to something that's strongly typed there. And when I go back over to the web, and I want to tell it to go get the connection string from the antivirus, right? Somewhere in here. There it is. Right there. I can say common services antivirus. And it's now referencing that same string for the antivirus service everywhere. So inside my tag, I think I can show you this without going too far. My tag is a very complex system. I have a services bit that's set up here where I have a blob storage static class in it inside of it. So I can say services blob storage, and there's the name of the connection. And inside of that, I have containers that have these other resources. And here I have a database resource that has connection strings for things called security and sign up and media kit. And I have an email resource that has a connection called mail server. And my service bus has these capabilities out here as well. So I've got all of my service names defined and placed in one class library, and I can reference and bring that class library, because it's just a series of strings, so that I have that all in one place. But I can reference and use those string references, those constants, inside of my entire system, and it'll always reference that same strongly typed string. So I'll go back and show you the app host project file again. The magic behind there is this is Aspire project resource. By default, that value is true. And that's what gets us the ability in here to point to and pick up all the projects in our solution. We reference and include it, and it appears in here. But I don't want it to be an Aspire resource that should be instrumented and managed. I want it to be a library that we can use for programming and changing the behavior of the app host application. So I need to tell it that it is not an Aspire project resource. Kind of a pseudo undocumented feature there. And once again, that allows me to remove it from my projects collection here and still reference it like this. So. Oh, Aspirant hosting is available on NuGet. I didn't realize that they published a package to NuGet. Oh, it's right there. Yeah, so there you go. Man, you got some of these images stretched bad here. But yeah, go ahead and include Aspirant hosting then, and you can do wait for from there. I've been copying it into projects before this was available. And no more magic strings. There you go. Hey, Corey Weathers. Hello, how you doing, my friend? Have a fantastic day. Are you still traveling with the kids? So I would also use Corey and the folks working on OAuth. I'm sorry, Auth 0. Be great to be able to pass around the references to your Auth 0 structures, name them in one place, and share that around with that little constant capability. And then, right, Auth 0 is taking care of all your authentication. Put your API keys to connect, right, your client ID, your secret, to get you connected into Auth 0 for all of your services that need to do authentication. Put them in as parameters that can be loaded into website and other applications, and share that capability very easily. So there's a great security story there with Auth 0 that you can explore and use with Aspire. Very complementary to the two services working together, the stack and the service. Weather forecast with Aspire API works inside. Oh yeah, that's really weather forecast with Aspire API. I'm not sure I follow what you're describing there. Let me take a look. Oh, so you hit you hit the weather API from inside the Unreal app. Cool. Yeah. Very cool stuff there, DJ Deepex. Yeah. All right. I am running out of time here quickly. I like that for the way to add the telemetry from NCLAM, from the antivirus into this. So, right. So let me get rid of the replica sample that we put in there. And if I go back to, where was it? Here. And I was starting to build log extensions, right? So I want to be able to do public static. I get the same builder on the front of that, John. There it is. I host application builder. Host application builder. Come here. Give me the using statement on that. Come on now. Did Visual Studio just... No, I don't have... okay, hang on. Add NCLAM antivirus. Right? This I host application builder. See, I'm trying to get the... thank you. It's like a hosting extensions. Right? It's like hosting extensions. Not sure which one it is. Yeah, Microsoft Extensions hosting. Kind of annoying that it didn't suggest it for me. Microsoft Extensions hosting. Why are you going to sleep here on me? There it is. Hosting abstractions is probably the one I want. So we get that lightweight API. Yeah, I know. No, I'm working on it here. Give me my using statement. Builder, and there's probably going to be some configuration stuff that we're going to want there. So we're going to end up at the end. Okay. Activity source. Something like that, right? I don't know. We got to bring it over. It's over here. right? Something like those. I don't need the logger. Sure. You know what? This will probably... Maybe that's private? And then we manage it with some APIs here? Don't know. We'll figure it out. But by placing all these things up in here... That probably should be internal also. Right? So then if I were to emulate the way this was doing it... Builder services, add OpenTelemetry. I don't know. Right? Something like that. And we need... What do you mean? No. Oh, no. See, there's the activity source name. Right? Right? I don't know. Configure nclam instrumentation, something like that. I don't know. And then add the instrumentation. Sure. I don't know what that is, but sure. But I'm missing a thing on this. It doesn't know how to do that. So how do we do that? Adding the OpenTelemetry. Where's that come from? You don't know. Out of OpenTelemetry instrument? No, that's not going to be it. That's probably not it either. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's... I know somewhere else where that's being used. Yahtzee. It's coming out of iLogging. Well, wait a sec. It's on logging add OpenTelemetry. Services add OpenTelemetry. This one. It's returning an OpenTelemetry builder. But where do you come from? Where do you get these toys? It's in extensions dependency injection. What? No. OpenTelemetry extensions hosting. Really? See, and right now I just did this add source to get it into the mix. What was it again? OpenTelemetry extensions hosting. All right. Feels weird having to add that. OpenTelemetry extensions hosting. This one. 66 million times it's been downloaded. Wow. Wow. Yep. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Ta-da! And that doesn't exist yet, so we need to build that. But the other things work. You're building a website to teach C#.net. You're planning on doing a large section on Aspire. Oh, very cool. Thank you, Apollo. I'm glad you're enjoying that. So what other things do we need to configure? Like, what else did they configure in here? Where is it? No. There it is. Configure Redis instrumentation. Yeah. What's that do? What's that do? Go find it, GitHub. Go find it. You're not working. You can't find it? Configure Redis instrumentation. It's right there. Fine. Two can play this game. Find it. There it is. Right there. What's it do? Configure Redis instrumentation. Configure Redis instrumentation. Add Redis instrumentation. Really? Configure services. Add singleton. New instrumentation. If there's one thing that the Microsoft engineers are really good at, it's creating overloads and delegating down the chain like this. Fine. And what's in Stack Exchange Redis instrumentation? What's in that? Right, there it is. And adding connection information. So it adds a Redis connection. Creates a new connection to instrument. And returns it. And when it's done, it looks like it removes and disposes it. Okay. That's a lot. We don't need to do all that. Like, if I was doing threading and managing a pool of antivirus clients, maybe. I don't think I need to do all that. Maybe create... No. MySQL also does some interesting things where they have an activity source helper that passes around the various logging tasks and dropping records onto the meter and whatnot, so that if you don't have instrumentation turned on, it just no ops. That might, I wonder if that's the way to go with this. Maybe we should call this, instead of, let's just call this extensions. I don't know. And up here, right, if we call this, right, F2, we'll call this activity helper, right? So then, right, all of this stuff can go away, except for the logger. Leave the logger. Take the cannolis. What? So the passing the logger in and getting information out of it, I think, is fine, and nobody's gonna... You got wait for it to work? Awesome, that's great. Great news, Jerry. I hope you enjoy using that. And it just feels... It feels right, being able to use wait for, because at startup, there's things like a database that, you know what, you can't do anything until database is running. Wait for that database to get running for me first. so you don't end up with an out of sync process. I kind of agree with you that it should be built in, and I wouldn't be surprised if it moves over. And it does wait forever with .NET Watch. Yes. Yes. So I think there's a special type of health check that .NET Watch should manage and handle and present better. Will you shut up over there? So now removing that, things like here, I can move this out into a method and make the interaction with the command a heck of a lot simpler. What do I think of SQLite? SQLite is nice for a single user interaction, and you need a little database. SQLite works great on mobile devices, where it's only you that's interacting with the little database of contacts or whatever it is that you might need to persist and have your own local store. That's nice. As soon as you start to try and get to scale with it, and multiple folks need to access the same database, it can get a little dicey because you've got one file and you're going to run into file locking issues. There are ways to mitigate that with queuing and connection pooling. Still, you're going to run into issues. There's folks that have tried that are setting up huge SQLite-backed database services that have all the queuing and connection pooling built in, so that it is one file sitting on disk, but it's SQLite sitting on disk, but you're interacting with it through a queue that's doing all the things that a real multi-user database would use. At that point, just use SQL Server Community Edition. Use MySQL. Use Postgres. There's a lot more features that are available to you that you can run locally when you want to get to that size. But for a little file that you need to run and interact with that's going to hold, at most, a couple hundred meg, that's great. It's great for a little thing. Internal database for employees or companies, security is going to bite you on that. SQLite does not have enterprise-grade security. You can crack and read the content of that easily. So, don't do it. Right, there was a whole big thing that was made about how SQLite was being used as the database to store the recall content, right, that you would be able to search against. And because it was being stored clear text in a SQLite database, anybody that could get access to the machine can read and look at everything that you've ever done in that database. So it's not hardened, but for something to store that you don't need commercial grade security on, sure. So, if I want to trim this down a little bit here, what do we want to get? That's the name of the server that we're connecting to, right? And there's a couple places in the logging where I do that, but that's a local property inside of here, right? Address, IP. So let's create a string here. Right. Now, why doesn't it like that? Nope. one of those will have a value. Get a human readable reference to the server. Right? So now I can change this to just server name. But I'd really like to make this a little bit easier to work with. Right, if I wanted to wrap this up. Activity source, start activity. Is there a way to look at the activity source? What did I call it? Activity helper? Activity source has listeners. There we go. Right, we can check that and say, hey, there's nobody listening, and bail. Don't do anything. So if I wanted to, I could take that whole thing, right, and we could say internal static not begin scan, begin execute, right? And I don't know what all we're going to be receiving in here, but do something like this. So we need to get a command coming in. All right, don't mind if I do. Command. And I can receive a reference to that end clamp, to that clam client. Because then I can go in here and say client server name, client port. There we go. I can investigate what command it was, and I can set the display name to that appropriately. That's fine. So what would be nice, you have to write the getter and setter methods manually. You can still do that in C#. That is available. Right, so the auto property, right, I can do oh, get back in there. Right? I can do that. Oh, I made it read-only. Turn off that read-only bit. No. Right, I could do that. I can also do... Right, I can create that property. Right, that's really expressive. That just points to that field. And is it read only? Can I set foo? No, it's it's read only. When you do that syntax. So, right, if I have a read only property that I want to wrap some other thing that I'm deriving like this, that looks really nice to do instead of right, instead of doing right, that's just syntactic sugar over top of that. So I can roll that back. There we go. And it gives me the same interaction, the same capability to get in there. How is Clam AV on desktop? You tried it, you didn't give a GUI. I thought there was a GUI for it. There is a .NET Aspire community stand-up. I'm holding out so that we can raid into it. So, give it just a few moments, and my friends John Galloway and that Maddie Montequilla are hosting the first ever .NET Aspire community stand-up. So let me see, I have that down there. If I have this over here, and we're logging some of this information, I feel like there should be. Well, I wanted to do a checkup here first. If activity source dot has listeners, so if it doesn't have listeners, right? Return. Bail out immediately. So that's right. I'll let them explain. I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'll let them introduce and share over there. I'm not going to give away the ghost here. Let's call this begin clam command execute, something like that. I don't know. That sounds good. So then I can come over here and where it was getting ready, right? I can say activity helper and pass in the command in this. Done. It's on Twitch? Fantastic. Then I will wrap up for now. I'm going to do more on this and try and figure out where this feels good to build and add in here and get some documentation around this. Which means I'm probably going to push off tomorrow's stream where I was going to be teaching how to build your own resources. Push that off to next week. But I need to call it here so we can go support our friends, John and Maddie, with the .NET Aspire community stand-up. Hey, One Punch Mac, you caught me just as we're getting ready to raid over to the Visual Studio channel on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find them. They are on youtube.com/.net. We're going to be headed over to Twitch TV Visual Studio. We're going to send everybody over there to check out and cheer on and encourage our friends. We're talking about Aspire as part of today's .NET Aspire community stand-up. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back on Saturday, not Thursday, Saturday, talking about all kinds of things .NET Aspire, talking about, I had a QR demo I wanted to show you that we'll get to, and we'll talk more about on Saturday, all right? Have a fantastic rest of your day. Say hi to my friends, John and Maddie, and I wish you good health and good coding. Take care. Where's the button? Hit the button! Do it! Go, go, go!